And then my father tells me of what happened. His mama couldn't take care of him. And it was people whose names I don't know who intervened in his life to make sure that he had food on a table and roof over his head. And then when it was time to go to college, and I see this in my city, he couldn't afford college. And so it was people that intervened with him. People who put dollar bills in envelopes so that he could afford his first semester's tuition at a college called North Carolina Central University. My father in college and my mom in college. My mom went to Fisk right over there in Tennessee. The two of them had amazing college experience getting there in the early 60s. Civil rights movement didn't start with the leaders that we hear talked about. It started with activists in communities and neighborhoods, names we don't mention that much anymore. The city movement started here in North Carolina, in Greensboro.
That's right.
And my father and mother, I had the great privilege of being the commencement speaker for my mom's 50th reunion at her university, Fisk University. And she takes me by the hand in dinner beforehand and takes me to table to table to table. And it's amazing how your mom can still make you feel like a little boy. I try to tell her I'm the mayor of Newark, New Jersey. Come over here, boy. And she was taking me around the tables and introducing me to her classmates and saying things like this. Listen, this is the young lady who led our voter registration drive. Back when you could get killed doing that. You all remember Goodwin and Cheney and Schwerner. She would take me to tables and say, this person led our student boycott of the place that would not serve them. I don't know these people's names. I was meeting them for the first time, but for them, I would not be here. When my parents got to Washington, D.C., they weren't hiring black people in corporations and businesses then, but black people and white people, whose names I don't know, who as volunteers and activists gathered together to give them an opportunity. They fought to get companies to hire blacks. My dad was one of the first blacks hired by Sinclair Oil Company, one of the first blacks hired by a department store called Woodruff and Latham, and then he was one of the first blacks along with my mom to be hired by this small tech company you all have heard of called IBM. And then my parents moved to New Jersey. 69, 70. I was a few months old. They had co-workers at IBM that said, you got to look at this town up in Bergen County. It's this town called Harrington Park. And they looked at houses in that Bergen County area, and they immediately found out that real estate agents, as soon as they found out they were black, they would tell them the house was sold. They would tell them, oh, it's been pulled off the market. And so there were some New Jerseyans. They weren't paid. These New Jerseyans didn't have titles. They weren't elected officials. These were New Jerseyans, black and white, Christian and Jew, who came together in Bergen County and formed the Fair Housing Council. My state, my people. They realized what was happening. They would send test couples out to the homes. My parents would go, they'd been told the house was sold, the test couple would come, my mom and dad, I don't know if it's true, they told me the name of the test couple, Mr. and Mrs. Brown, but they weren't Brown. And they found that the house was still for sale. The one house my parents loved in Harrington Park, they found the house was still for sale, and on the day of the closing, my father showed up with his young lawyer, New Jersey lawyer, I'm embarrassed, I don't know his name, a volunteer lawyer. And he challenged them. He said, you're in violation of New Jersey fair housing law. You produced a contract for the Browns. I now expect you to produce for the Bookers. And as he was going through his speech, the real estate agent gets up and punches the lawyer in the face. He sings a dog on my dad. Now the size of the dog has changed over the years. My dad says it was Stephen King's Cujo now. My mom whispers to me and says, it was just Dorothy's Toto. After a court case, I moved into Harrington Park, New Jersey. As my father called us, 4 raisins and a tub of vanilla ice cream. And we found an incredible town where people looked after me. Soccer coaches, volunteers, parents that baked cupcakes and came to school, went on class trips. But as I was walking around and going through high school, grade school, and high school, my father would just look at me sometimes and shake his head. I was a high school senior. I was honor society, president of my class. I was all-American high school football player. My dad would just shake his head and say, boy, don't you dare walk around here like you hit a triple. You were born on third base. I say this often, you drink deeply from wells of freedom and liberty and opportunity that you did not dig. You eat lavishly from banquet tables prepared by your ancestors. And you would just sit back and get fat, dumb, and happy, consuming all that's been prepared for you, or you can be one of those people who metabolizes your blessings and let them fuel in your heart like fire, driving you forward to fight for this nation's promise. But understand this, I don't ever want you to fight alone. The real test of leadership and character is your ability to bring people together, not divide people, not demonize people, not think that you push some people down just to raise people up, but it's the idea that all of us can succeed together. The ideal that we're stronger when we stand together. It's an ideal in the heart and spirit of every culture that makes up New Jersey. The African culture, they have a saying that says, spider webs united can tie up a lion. In Islam, there's a pillar of Islam, Tawheed, which means we all share a common spirit, a common soul, and the one God. There's a Christian saying that whenever 2 or 3 are gathered together in His name, somebody help me out here, He is in the midst. There's a great Jewish leader, Goldmeier, who said Jews together are strong, but Jews with other people are invincible. There is a hallmark to a young country, conceived in liberty, still trying to make true on its promise. The hallmark of that nation is 3 simple words: E pluribus unum. And so we in the Democratic Party have to now go out and pull our state back together again. We're a fractured state now, not just a party with challenges. We're a fractured state. People are trying to get us to believe that unions are the enemy. People trying to get us to believe that teachers are the enemy. We're all in this together. And remember what our president said. There are no red states and no blue states. It is the United States of America. There may be some Democrats and some Republicans, but we're all Americans. And so we in New Jersey, if we unify again around our highest ideals and principles, if we stand tall for the elements of the Democratic Party platform, we won't just appeal to each other. We won't just find strength in our numbers, but we will unify our state again. And we will stand tall for women's rights. We will stand tall for workers' rights. We will stand tall for gay rights. We will stand tall for American rights. And when we stand tall with a unified voice, with a chorus of conviction, we can look then to the President of the United States and say, we stand with